Presented by Revolution Radio, broadcasting live from the Roanoke Valley of southwestern Virginia. Join us and see what life looks like from a medium's perspective with Tracey Lockwood, the medium's medium. We'll explore the tools of psychic development, hear stories and experiences from the other side, and learn to listen to our natural intuition. Now, our host, Tracey Lockwood.
Hello, beautiful lights, and welcome to another episode of From a Medium's Perspective. Before we get into today's show, I'd like to mention that my professional psychic mediumship certification is underway, and I'm offering it again in August and again in February. Hopefully each year I'll be able to offer that in February and August. If you're curious, it's a 14-week immersion program, and it gives you a great amount of practice, giving readings, etc. We'll be working with the body basics and then the left brain tools and moving through psychic tools and then psychic readings without tools and mediumship exercises and channeling. So if you have an interest, please find more information on my website at mediumtracylockwood.com. Well, I am tickled today to have this guest with me. She is a highly gifted, experienced medium, spiritual medium. She, like me, finds proving the fact that we're actually talking to someone on the other side by giving details of their personality and their appearance and mannerisms, etc., important. And so she's an evidential spiritual medium. She's also a spirit-guided artist. That just means that her talent as an artist is expressed in being able to portray portraits of those in spirit, loved ones and guides and people that you might know. She's also very empathic and able to tap into people's emotions and thoughts. That's an excellent skill that we have as psychic mediums. And she blends together art, music, and her mediumship. She's been working with this for, I don't know whether I'd embarrass her with this or not, 40 years. And I'm so happy to introduce you to spiritual medium Rhonda Rhodes. Welcome, Rhonda.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
You are just more than welcome. I can't even tell you. I'm so excited. I love to see how mediumship is expressed individually and yet comprehensively through other people. And I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I really am excited to be here.
I'm glad. For those of you that like to snoop around during the show and check up on our guests, her website is spiritualmediumrhonda.com. And Rhonda is spelled R-H-O-N-D-A. So spiritualmediumrhonda.com. Check her out while we're talking here. So this show is called From a Medium's Perspective. So I wanted to talk to you about how being a medium has changed your perspective on life and other things. How?
Well, first I want to say you don't know what you don't know until you figure out, hey, I don't know this. You don't know that you know something until someone says that. I say that because I didn't really know that I was different or gifted because I just assumed everybody did what I do.
Yes.
I didn't know that not everybody did what I do. My perspective is nothing has really changed, except now I trust that what I'm getting is not always mine.
Yes. You know what? I think that's what differentiates a psychic from a medium, because spirit influences us, but until we develop our perception of where that information is coming from, which is what mediums do,
correct,
we don't really realize that they're the voices of spirits that care about us. They're the voices of people that have passed. They're the voices of guides or an angel, or it's just so interesting to find out. And I know I was so shocked when I met my joy guide, Primrose. She's sort of my gatekeeper joy guide. She's the one that organizes my people when they come through. When I met her, her voice piped up over my left shoulder, and it was the voice of a little girl, kind of. And I realized not too much after that it was the voice that I thought was my intuition. I thought that was my intuition. But actually, it's a smooth blending of their wisdom with ours, and it's seamless until you develop it. I know the Bible calls it the discerning of spirits, when you're able to differentiate the source of that information. And I appreciate your bringing that up, because that's where the rubber meets the road. And it's interesting.
Right. And for so long, I kept thinking, oh, I'm doing this wrong. Or, when I was training, oh, I'm doing this wrong. Or, and literally I was expecting to hear a voice from outside of me. That's what I was expecting to hear. And I had no idea that the voice in my head that I hear is still my voice, but it's spirit. And I kept waiting for this outside voice that said, Rhonda, this is me, God talking.
The voice
I was expecting that.
Yes.
Right, and when it didn't happen, I was thinking, oh my gosh, why isn't this happening? And then when I figured out and put the pieces together, I realized I've always known things. I've just known things. But it was like I was talking to myself. And I assumed it was me that was talking because it was the same voice.
Yes.
I just had no idea.
Yeah, that's how close. And like, we use different labels for different guides, and, different traditions categorize them slightly differently. Of course, vibrationally, they're distinct. But it's interesting because some of their voices, because they're part of our entourage that comes in with us to this material dimension so that we can make it through safely to the other side whenever that point is that we decided on, they're resonant with us. So they're very close to our own frequency, and it does take discernment to be able to differentiate them.
Yes. And I wish somebody had told me that,
Yes.
I wish somebody would have said, hey, this, and this. These are the things that you need to know.
Yeah.
But there was nobody there.
No. And I do know that there are some mediums, but I would say they're very limited, that do hear a more direct voice of spirit, or do see spirit as if they are physically standing there. But for most of us, it's, like you said, within our awareness, or within our auric field, or within our thoughts. They come very naturally.
Yes.
And it's that small, still voice, because it's subtle energy.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that you do that I just admire so much, and I've dabbled with it, but I certainly don't do it as part of a professional reading. I do energetic sketches. That I do sometimes if someone asks me, which is sort of, it kind of creates kind of a personal oracle card for my client so that they have something tangible. It's an art piece, but it could have archetypical symbols in it, or it could have pictures of their guides or whatever, but it's not like what you do, and I really admire what you do. How would you define a soul portrait? I liked that term that you used.
Well, a soul portrait is the very essence of who we are, in our uniqueness and our exquisiteness. We so often forget that we are spirit. We are part of spirit, that our soul is so much more than this physical body. And we get bogged down in that. Soul portraits kind of, spirit literally woke me up from a dead sleep and said, this is what you're doing, this is how it's going to be done, and this is what you're going to do it with. And I kind of poo-pooed it off and said, nah, I don't know how to do it. So I started doing some research to see if I could. And people kept telling me, no, you can't do that. It's toxic. And I kind of put it on the back burner. I let them be my killjoy because I knew I wanted to do something of that nature with art. I just couldn't figure out what it was. Spirit woke me up and said, it is art, it is music. With everybody telling me you can't do this and it's toxic and blah, 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 I was like, okay, so I just kind of put it away. But I knew that there was something more. It was coming. I just didn't know what it was. And I went to Awakened Spirit in Atlanta, Georgia, and directly across from us, because I do not believe in coincidences, directly across from us was a psychic medium that was doing spirit art. And she was using the exact same medium that everybody had told me, no, you can't use it because it's toxic.
I don't understand why they would think it was toxic.
It is toxic when you use it at a high temperature.
To use what
because
at a high temperature?
I use encaustic wax.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, that's
yes.
a wonderful medium.
Yes. But when you use it at a high temperature, the fumes are toxic.
Oh, okay. So they were concerned that the fumes would be toxic. Okay.
Correct. So this medium was using them, and I got a reading from her, and she literally kind of said, you could be doing this. And I said, I want to do this. This was the medium I wanted to do, but she was like, oh no. She was like, I have workshops on it all the time. I'll give you my card. We'll keep in contact. I'll have a workshop. You come down. And I was so excited.
Yes.
I was so excited. She never had a workshop. I went home and I went to Amazon and I ordered the waxes and I ordered all the stuff.
They are not cheap.
No, not at all. And then Spirit literally woke me up again one night and said, why are you waiting? Stop. Just do it.
Wonderful.
And I went, okay. So I trusted. And my cousin came over. She doesn't even know I'm a medium. And so she came over and I said, let's play. And so I took the encaustics in my head, started having this conversation with myself about what colors she needed and why. And it turns out that this beautiful picture evolved with all these violets. And she looks at it and she goes, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And she starts talking about it and she starts seeing all these things in it. And it's everything that she has said she sees are the things that Spirit has said. This is why, this is not. And it was perfect. It flowed beautifully.
Yes.
That was my very first soul portrait because I wasn't sure what to call them. And I heard in my head, they're soul portraits. You are showing you are revealing their unique and exquisite self.
Yes. The first time I got exposed to that technique was at Arthur Findlay. I actually have a workshop coming up next month about it here in Roanoke, but it's just local for people. They're so interesting because they're abstract for the most part.
Yes.
But they have that translucence that's so easy to scry, to look at and interpret. I was curious. That's very interesting. So encaustic, basically personal cards that you create for that person.
Yes, they're very personal. Each one is one of a kind. Sometimes they are opaque colors. Sometimes they are translucent colors. Spirit will tell me, use a light color because they have too much of this, or don't use this color because they're mostly in the reds. I get a lot of, don't use red because they're way too grounded. They're way too practical, period. I don't, so I will use other colors.
Yes.
Like a lot of times when that happens, I will use a burgundy, and Spirit will tell me why I need those colors.
Yeah.
So being a psychic medium, I hear things and I get things in it, but mostly I am going up the chakras, the energy centers, and I am using those colors people get. I use pearlescent, white, gold, bronze, silver, the metallics. But literally, I am using the colors of the chakras. And so that's how that came to be.
I was going to say that's one of the types of art that you create. You also do spirit-guided portraits.
Yes.
And that's
yes, I do.
loved ones, right? That's the people's family, like that is
Yes.
crossed over? And spirit
Yes,
guides. You do spirit guides too?
Yes. So, being an artist, because my first love is art. Being an artist, I came to this so naturally because I've always been intuitive. I've always done art, and so the two just kind of naturally blended together.
Yes, yes. That's why I started the energetic sketches, but I don't do them much anymore. But you do them all the time. Like that's one of your strengths in your readings,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
I also wanted to point out that you do mandalas and auragraphs.
yes. I do custom mandalas and autographs because it's a little, and I do them on the computer. I do computer generated
Uh-huh.
mandalas and autographs. Computer generated seems to be a little more, I can manipulate it a little bit more to come out the way that I want it to.
People have called you also the musical medium, which is
Yes.
kind of, some people think, oh, art, music, they're different, but all of them come from that inspiration of spirit. Why musical
Right.
medium for you?
Well, my friends will tell you that anything that they say, I have a song in my head.
And that
I,
probably
I,
goes for spirit too, right? Like if spirit
yes.
says something.
And most of the time, Spirit will give me a specific song, which is why I'm called the music medium, because I get songs. Messages come through with song. I truly believe Spirit has said, okay, she can't sing. I'm going to sing through her so that she's not
Yes.
sounding so bad. So I know that that is Spirit coming through. But I've always got a song, and messages come through in song. It is a specific verse or chorus, and I will say to people, there is something about this song. You need to go either listen to it or look at the words because there's something significant about it.
Yes, because it's a vibrational
Yeah.
direction or trigger. Yeah.
I'm going to embarrass myself here. This song, da na 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 da na 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 na. Yes. When I get that song, even though there are no words, I know that something in that person's life that they are very repetitious, that they do something almost like OCD. That's how I know that, because that song repeats itself over and over. I used to think that it was a coincidence that songs would come on when I was thinking about something. And then I started to realize that is Spirit's way of connecting with me because I get music.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. They use any means available to communicate. Yes, and people don't realize that.
Right. It's just a matter of noticing what you notice.
Yes.
So in college, this is when I first got this. I had a friend and we were inseparable. We did everything together. But every single time we were together, a specific song called You Better Stop Dogging Me Around was the name of the song. And every time we were together, that song would come on and I couldn't understand. And we just kind of laughed about it, ha ha ha, that song, it's on again, it's on again. And it was kind of popular during the time. Well, as it went on, she literally betrayed me. The song was, Girl, You Better Stop Dogging Me Around.
Yep.
It was like Spirit was trying to tell me, you need to be careful of this person. I stopped hearing the song after we stopped being friends.
That's very interesting to me because my guides use dogs in dreams to warn me about treachery that's around me. And it's funny because if you look in a dream interpretation, loyalty and best friend and blah, blah, blah. But in my dream, if I see dogs, I know that I had better start looking around and checking it out because somebody is doing something. And it's amazing. Yeah, I love that example.
That just happens where I'm just contemplating something. I don't know what to do, or I'm just kind of stuck in a place, I will turn the radio on and there'll be the perfect song.
Yes.
You know, and I always look up to Spirit and go, thank you, I needed that. And now it has started to happen with license plates all the time.
I understand that, yes.
You know, or you see the sign, no matter what, trust God. I cannot tell you how many times when I have really not been too trusting that I have turned around and that sign has been there.
That is so cool. We are right at the bottom of the hour, Rhonda. Time is flying.
Okay.
So we'll be back
Oh my
on
gosh.
the other
Yes.
half. If you want to reach Rhonda, her website is spiritualmediumrhonda.com.
Now, back to our show, from a medium's perspective, with host Tracey Lockwood.
Welcome back. If you missed the first half of our show or would like to listen to any of our other past episodes, you can find them on YouTube. Just put in Medium Tracey Lockwood, and while you're there, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And if you'd be interested in a professional level certification program, I'm also going to be debuting some introductory and intermediate programs too. If you're interested in a private reading or you're interested in private tutoring, you can find more information about what I offer at my website, which is mediumtraceylockwood.com. Welcome back, spiritual medium Rhonda Rhodes here. We are just deep into conversation here. We were talking about spirit art and different experiences and listening to music and how that is one of the ways that spirit communicates with us, and got down to bumper stickers and license plates there. And
Yes.
absolutely. I agree with you and have had similar experiences, and I appreciate your sharing it, because again, like when people are opening their abilities, sometimes they do have that expectation, like you did when you began, thinking that spirit's just going to stand up there and speak to you out of the blue in a,
Yes.
you know, but spirit's talking all the time. We just have to slow down and pay attention there.
and notice the consequence, the coincidences. Like we have to notice the coincidences that happen.
Yes, the synchronicities and the coincidences that are not coincidences. No Twinkie dinks.
Correct. You know, because people are always going, was that a coincidence? Like they question it. You know, just kind of put it back in your pocket and put it, you know, just tuck it back there and say, okay, I'm just going to, if something else happens, I'm going to remember this. You know, that's how you start to connect those dots to synchronicity and the coincidences, is by noticing what you notice, like just taking note of that. You know, that at least that's what worked for me.
Yes, that's true. And, it is about the thing that's drawn to our attention. And when we first get that information, we do tend to argue with ourselves, because our left brain, is very analytical, and it's used to dealing with concrete things in the physical world. And when something comes through our subtle energy field through our right brain, they don't really talk to each other, the left and the right brain, too much. And so it seems kind of random, or like, what are the chances of that? Or, oh, that's pretty cool, but it's probably nothing. Or, I don't know if I really heard that. Or, why would I be thinking this or that? You know, we don't really honor our intuition as much as we should.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting started as a medium, one conflict that some people have is between their traditional religious perspectives that may be very critical of using their right brain and the actual experience of mediumship. I'm fully aware that all religions have their mystics, and, there's probably no religion that doesn't have, people that are tuned in at a higher frequency, their prophets or their seers or their oracles or whatever the religion is. But for you, you came from a more, a traditional background?
Well, my parents, I was actually baptized Southern Baptist.
Yeah, that would be traditional. Yeah.
Yes. And it was in Oklahoma, and they did not dance, and they, it was very traditional. Fortunately for me, let me backtrack here. My parents took, we went to church every Sunday, and there was, we talked about religion, and we said prayers, and so we had religion in there. But on top of that, I had a grandfather who was a 33rd degree Mason, who had a library that was full from floor to ceiling of every religion there was. There were books on every religion. There were books on crystals. There were books on palmistry and numerology. And I always thought, wow, these are kind of interesting. So from a very early age, which is why I have to say I've been doing it for 40 years, is because my parents didn't stop me from exploring different things. Back when I was growing up, they called it they called it the occult. So,
yes.
That's what they said, that I was looking into. But I knew about numerology, and I knew about all of this stuff. So I was always very curious. I was talking to my brother not too long ago, and I just came out as a medium to him. And, well, actually, my mother kind of outed me as a medium to him. And my brother went,
Oops.
well, now that makes sense. And I'm like, well, what makes sense?
Made sense, yes.
And he said, well, you were always into, that weird stuff, that occult stuff, which is what it was called, but it was just numerology and palmistry and, colors and things of that nature. So, yes, I was raised traditionally in terms of I had the upbringing of, Southern Baptist, and we did Catholic, with the catechism. Is it catechism? Mm-hmm. It's been so long. But I had all of that also in there. But I always, again, that knowing
that esoteric
yes,
introduction
that
through
pull,
your grandfather.
Yes.
Yeah.
That pull of something more. And I've always known that, the meaning of life I've never questioned it, because I've always known what it was,
Yes.
I've always known that life, why I was here, I may have gone away from it because it scared me to death, seeing and hearing things when I was young, but I've always known. So it was a natural progression to take those the religious stuff, and kind of question what was being fed to me in terms of religion.
Right. Not necessarily the spirituality of the religion, but the dogma of the religion.
Yes. Because I do not consider myself, I do not like institutionalized religion. I do not consider myself religious, but yes. I consider myself extremely spiritual.
I understand
because it's everywhere. It is everywhere. It's in the trees.
Yes.
It is always around us. I do not have to go into a building because God is always around me. My infinite intelligence is always around me and always speaking to me. I don't have to go through somebody to get my information, because everything that I need, I already have.
Yes.
And it's because I am part of spirit, and spirit is part of me, that I don't, that's where I took that turn from religion, when I realized that I don't have to go someplace else, because spirit is always in me, and I am part of spirit, and we are one. We are, and I am made from him or her
Yes. Yeah.
or it or them.
Yeah, that brings to mind that process that I went through too as a child. I kind of think of religions as Ramakrishna defined them, like the lenses of cameras taking pictures of the same building from different angles. And I think that
Oh, I like
religion
that.
does offer a view of the divine. But
Yes.
I more believe that spirituality is a human uh, capacity. It's a human component, better said, a human component, and that when we're in touch with that aspect of ourself, the divine is able to flow through us. It doesn't make us God because we're not the totality of everything. We're just an
Correct.
aspect. But I
Correct.
love that connection. And one of my very first memories was being 3 years old, and I had lost my tricycle, and I was quite upset. And I was looking around, and I heard a voice that said, "It's over there." And I looked, and it was right there on the sidewalk, kind of thing. And so for me, I was always trying to fit a religion that would house my experiences. So
Right.
I was raised
Right.
Presbyterian, and then I went through the Pentecostal church, and I tried on Islam for a while, and I looked into Buddhism. And right about the time that I just threw up my hands in frustration, not because I loved each of those religions that I
Right.
experienced, but they were not complete for me. Just
I
about the
understand
time
that.
that I sort of threw the gauntlet down to the universe and said, "There's nothing that's going to work for me," a friend took me to my very first metaphysical church, and I got introduced through that into spiritualism.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm kind of going full circle, and now I'm like really into like the wisdom that was there at the turn of the century, 1800s,
Yes.
to 1900s, that was brought, that is traditions that were known for centuries in the East, that are just dawning. And I kind of think of it like the world, the dawning of awareness that's coming to us here in the United States
Mm-hmm.
has already passed around the earth and is just finally breaching our awareness. And, it's a slow
Right. Right.
process, but I definitely believe now that there's a quickening to that process, at least in the West here. And I think that the term psychic and medium is very distancing, that it doesn't allow people to feel connected to what that
Yeah.
aspect of ourself is. And it is so natural. And you've just done a phenomenal job of explaining, how that interplays with our life, and
Yes.
the importance
Yes.
of really listening, just pay attention to what's drawn to your attention. I liked that,
Yes.
sort of,
Yes.
focus on what's being brought into your awareness, because there's a
Yes. And
message there for you. And it's a beautiful thing. It's always a beautiful thing. If it's a high vibrational, it should always be a positive thing. If it's coming from a loving place or a high vibration
yes.
place, it's nothing to fear. There's no darkness in, that fear and love are total opposites. So,
Well, and it is funny that you would say that, because I always say, fear and love are the only two emotions, and they cannot exist in the same space.
yeah.
So the question then becomes, are you operating from fear or are you operating from love?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That's always the question that I ask myself. Am I operating from fear or am I operating from love? Now, I will be the first to tell you, I can go to fear.
We all can. It's a human thing, of course.
I can go straight there,
Yes.
and take the express to it. But I try very hard to be mindful and remember, and ask myself that question: am I operating from fear? And then understand and feel those feelings and accept them and be with them and then let them go, you know.
Yes. And, you know,
So
to take it a step further, I think that that's how you tell AKA good reading from a bad reading. You know, a good reading, you're going to feel at peace. You're going to feel that you've
yes,
learned something. You're going to feel more in
yes,
control of your life. You're going to feel like you're just overall feeling better when you walk out. It might be mind blowing. It might give you some stuff to think about, but at least it's
mm-hmm,
setting you, resonating with you and putting you on the right
yes,
way. And some people fight it because they don't want to hear what spirit's been trying to tell them, but you're
right.
just one voice, so spirit will get to them one day or another, you know,
Well, and
because they're loving, because they want the
yes,
best, because they want to bring people into a state of harmony in their lives.
yes.
And obviously
And
if
that
you
is
walk out,
always the,
go
yes,
ahead.
that's always the goal. That's
Yes.
always the goal.
Yeah.
It should always, you should always leave a reading feeling uplifted
Empowered.
and yes,
Yes.
you know, because it's always for your, at least for me, I always do it for the highest and greatest good of whoever is
Absolutely.
sitting in front of me. Now, you may not like what you hear in terms of, you know, because we are human. There are things that we, you know, we like denial.
We want to hold
You
on to
know,
relationships
yes,
that are toxic, but even though we know they're terrible
exactly,
for us, we don't want
exactly.
to take the courage to make a move so that we can be in a better job situation.
Right.
Yes, yes, but it opens up the possibilities.
Yes. And if nothing else, the seed has been planted. You cannot
Exactly.
unplant the seed because,
That's right.
you know, I mean, really, the seed's been planted. You can stay in denial. You can poo-poo it off. You can, oh, I don't, but it has been planted in the subconscious.
Yes, and
And that's
it's
enough.
not like some kind of hypnotic implantation or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like that.
no, no,
It's
no.
just that it's just, I'm just being silly. It's just that, you know, it's, if it's truth, it will be
Yes,
staring at you from all directions until you're willing to
yes,
accept it, you know? And
yes.
it's
And
not that, you know, I'm sure you know more than me. We don't do badass readings where we're trying to like intimidate someone and point a dark
correct.
finger. These are positive changes. These are wonderful
Yes,
opportunities. This is the path of
yes,
least resistance. This is the,
yes,
you know, the way that you look down your future. You know, if you go that way, what will occur? If you go this way, what will occur? And it's always up to you whether you listen.
yeah. So I'm going to throw something out to you for a second
Yeah.
because, you know, people always ask me, you know, should I do this or should I do that? You know, should I go this way or should I go that way? Well, first of all, uh, my thought is I'm not going to put my fate into someone else's hand by asking somebody else to make the decision for me,
Oh,
even though I
yes.
understand that why people do that. But I always tell people it doesn't matter because this is my belief. It doesn't matter if you go down road A, B, or C.
Yes.
You will always end up exactly where you are supposed to be.
Yes, all
You may go,
paths lead to
yes,
Rome.
yes. So it doesn't matter which choice. You know, it may be that you go A, B, C, D to get to E, or you may go A, Q, Z, 13, 24, P, you know.
Before you get there,
It
yeah.
doesn't before you get there, but you're still going to get there.
And there's value in that. And people worry too, like they say, I don't know if I'm on the right path. You
Yes.
can't be on the wrong path because you are the path. You are the
Exactly.
path. So it's your will
Exactly.
that directs your experience. It's your choices that define the quality of your life. And there
Yes.
are things that happen outside the parameter of our ability to control them. There are things that we don't have control over. Letting
Correct.
go of those, moving past them, and taking control of what we do have control over leads to happiness. Get away from the resistance,
Yes.
move to what's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, I have a story for you if you don't mind. So,
Well, I will let you know that we have ambiguously anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 minutes, but yes, go for it. We'll close it out. Go for it.
well, we'll just have to do this again because it's a long story. But long story short, yeah, it's too long.
Too long. I'm sorry. I will have to have you back. I'd love to have you back.
Yes, and I would love to come back. I'll have to leave that one as a teaser.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I was just, oh, yep, there we are. I hear our time. We were closer than I even thought. I hope that you enjoyed being on the show, Rhonda. It was a pleasure to have you. Again,
well, thank you. I've enjoyed myself.
Thank you so much. Again, her website is spiritualmediumrhonda.com. We'll see you next week for Seeing Life from a Medium's Perspective. And remember, it's never inappropriate to be kind, and without integrity, you have nothing.